Welcome back, everyone, for a new segment called Retro Scam. In this one, I kind of go over some of the common issues that you can find, like on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, just different things like that when you're dealing with other people that may not really be that honest about what they're doing, or they may not know. Maybe they were scammed out of something. So, an example here is this Pokemon game, but we will get more into that one in a bit. Some other stuff, find it all the time on Facebook Marketplace. Got this Game Gear on there. They're like, oh yeah, everything works. Yeah. See all that nice battery damage? There's like that damage on there, all sorts of damage on here. So just one of the things, you just need to be extra careful and even bring extra tools with you, things like that, so you can actually check out the legitimacy of everything. So there we go. One of those is a real copy, one is a fake copy. Or what people like to call on Facebook Marketplace when they try selling them for $20, a reproduction. So the fake ones, I don't recommend getting. I mean, if you want to play them, they do work. They're pretty much just ROMs that are applied onto chips. And they're pretty cheaply made, but they do work. You can play the game. They are usually around $4 is good average price that you can find on AliExpress or AliExpress, however you pronounce it. So there are variations of the legit ones, but instead of getting the variations, let's kind of look at some of the stuff that would be more important to look at because, I mean, like on this one, there's the E, this one, there's not. This says Special Pikachu Edition, this one does not, which labels can be replaced. So that's not really the best way to figure out if it's a legit one or not. Especially if you look at the back. The fake ones all have the tri-wing screws. The Game Boy ones have the game bits on them. So after opening them, you can probably tell there's a pretty big difference in here. You have the cheap one that has the just the ROM, kind of the garbage looking board on there. It's it's just cheaply made because it doesn't require that much tech to get it to work. But the great 90s technology right here, you have a battery for the save data, you have all these other chips on here. You flip the legit one over, it says Nintendo on the back. Has this is a common thing you'll see among all of these Pokemon ones. Those four little rectangles right there. That's one of the big guarantees there that it's a legit chip. And now the fake one, it's just, I mean, there's not much to it. Doesn't even look cool or anything on the back. It's just kind of there. It's almost like it has a spot where a battery could go, but it just doesn't really need one because it uses flash memory for everything. So this is my recommendation. Anytime that you go and purchase a Pokemon game, you should always bring the tools with you to take it apart so you can take a look at it. If the person will not let you look at the chips, then there's a higher probability that it's not going to be a legit one. So really when it comes to the chip, look for the battery for the Game Boy ones. Look for a chip that takes up the whole area there. And then look for those four rectangles on the back. So then other than paying attention to the chip on there, the ways that you can kind of tell, because labels can be replaced, so I try not to really depend on the labels for these, but as far as the case itself, can't really tell through the camera, but this is like a very thin, cheap feeling plastic for the fake one. This is a thick feeling plastic for the real one. The real one's going to be completely solid going all the way across here. The fake one, as you can see, has like some big opening that goes right into the chips. I mean, it's not even going to be protected from dust or anything. And then because how they made the chips for them, the fake ones are always going to have their screw up here and the real ones down here. Because on the real ones, the screw actually goes through the center of the board. On the fake ones, there's a hole in the board, but the screw goes in up here because they just didn't make anything work the same way. So if you can see, I'm reflecting the light off of a spot where there's kind of a, not really an engraving, but just a pushed in number on the label. So the real ones are actually going to have numbers on the labels like that. And I mean, that's true on most things for Nintendo. Like on the Super Game Boy, even, the label on the back has that number that's pushed into it. I mean, there are differences in the labels, but yeah, once again, sometimes labels go bad and people replace them, so I usually don't depend on the label for these to make sure that the game is actually right. And then to show how both of these are, we have the fake one in the Super Game Boy and the real one in the Game Boy Color. So I mean, they're not started at the same time, so they're not in sync right now, but they both work. I mean, the fake ones even work in the Super Game Boy. It has a special border to it, and they even have save data on them, which that was one that I tested earlier just to see if you could save with them. Just like the real one, it has save data from when I was a kid on there. Testing them out, they are going to work just the same as the real ones. So really the only way to tell is by inspecting the boards. It might feel weird asking someone if you can check out the board, but it's definitely worth it to make sure you get the legit version. I mean, if you're wanting one just to play, then I mean, you can get a reproduction one if you want, but if you want a legit one, then you should definitely bring the tool along with you to check the board. So if you are shopping around for Pokemon games on like Facebook Market or anything like that, then try to make sure you have a tri-wing screw and one of the security bits. That's the 3.8 millimeter, which iFixit yells at you if you call it a the security game bit. They call it something else, but they have some that are excellent quality, but you're paying a higher price for it. On Amazon, you can get this set of two of them for I think it's around $8. They don't last as long, but they are cheaper. If you're not doing this all the time, then it might be worth it just to go the cheaper route. And I've seen other people on YouTube talk about the cases to say, like, if it comes with one of the cheap cases, like the one without Nintendo on it, then that's kind of a red flag. But we we buy these garbage ones all the time on Amazon, so like for our legit games. So that's not really something that determines if it's a legit copy or not. So I know a lot was kind of covered in here, but just pretty much trying to help prevent people from getting scammed if they're actually wanting to get a legit copy of this. And as far as labels, once again, I just kind of ignore labels. If you want an original label, just make sure it has that number stamp on it, because that's the easiest way to tell that it's an original label on there. Because I could go on to Etsy right now and buy like multiple different types of labels for this for probably about $4 or $5 each. So the main parts to check on would be in there for the opening for the case, the screw on the back. If it's a tri-wing and it's up there, then that is definitely a red flag. And then the board, it will have the battery and also those little 4 rectangles on the back. But everything else with it, whatever you play it in, it plays the same as a legit one. So it's tough to tell other than actually looking at the circuit board on it. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and hope to help prevent someone from getting scammed here. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.